Hey, Pastor Ben here. So excited. We have week number 6 of life groups tonight. Today, whenever you're meeting, I get to share a little bit about how I've been influenced in my life. So I want us to take some time just to go around the room and talk about how you've been influenced. You can start at any point in your story and then share how your influence had led you to the point you are today. That simple. Go around and talk about it. Hey guys, Pastor Ben here. Pastor Jarvis wanted me to take some time to share my story of influence. And I had a very interesting life growing up. And when I talk about influence, I like to break it down into 4 primary voices in our life. And there's probably more, but we're going to talk about 4 today. The first one being our parents. So, and as I go through these 2, I want you guys, if you're watching this again during life groups, maybe take note of these 4 things and then have that guide you when you guys get a chance to share your own stories today and share your own influence that has brought you and shaped you into who you are today. So today, first major voice of influence in my life is my mom. You know, it's funny to think that my mom has shaped a lot of who I am today, good and bad. Definitely a lot of good, but there's definitely things that I'm seeing in my life today that maybe reflect a lot of who she was as a point of influence in my life. And the thing about my mom, single mom, an older brother, so single mom of 2 boys. I lived the first 6 years of my life with my grandparents. My mom was a nurse, worked nights, so my grandparents took care of us during the evenings. And yeah, my mom was a super independent, hardworking person. And I know the day that we were eventually able to get our own house was really a proud moment for her. After living with my grandparents for so long and in the early part of my childhood. But yeah, I think just being around my mom is very spontaneous, I think would be a good word to say. She's always one growing up to, if someone would call and say, hey, let's go to this place, let's drive to Wisconsin Dells, or let's do something. If she could make a way to do it, we would do that. I think I'm spontaneous. I like to do new things. I like to try different things. Maybe get tired of the same old stuff all the time, looking for new experiences. So I think I take a lot of that from her. But also my mom is very likable. She never had a hard time making new friends. She loves being around people, loves spending time with her friends. I feel like I'm the same way. I hope a lot of you guys watching this like me. I think I've shared this in the past, but I don't like when people don't like me. It really bothers me. And I don't know if my mom has that, because I don't know, because she'll never shy away from sharing her opinion. And I will bite my tongue most of the time if I think I'm gonna rub people too far the wrong way. So unless you really know me, then it's fair game. But yeah, my mom's super likable. She's super sweet. But also on the other side of that, very easily angered growing up. There was a lot of yelling in our house. As you can imagine, I wasn't the easiest kid to raise. My older brother, much more studious and relaxed and chill. If you've been around my son Neil, you probably get a little taste of what I was like, but very free-spirited, running around like crazy. I'm sure putting a lot of foreign objects in my mouth that I shouldn't be, eating the wrong things. I was a lot, and I was a handful, and I still hear stories about how I was a handful for a lot of people. But yeah, I can't thank her enough for taking on the responsibility of raising 2 boys that are doing pretty well with all the circumstances that we've been around. So our first primary voice is our parents. My mom is amazing. If you see this, I love you. Thank you for all the good things you've given me, but also working through some of the things that maybe she struggled with and that I struggle with today. So first voice, our parents. All right, our second primary voice in our life is our culture. And when I talk about culture, I'm talking about our friends, maybe members of our family, extended family, TV, if you're in my era. Nowadays it's social media, the internet. The internet was just making its debut when I was, probably 8 years old or something like that, 7, 8 years old. So it was a little different for me than it is for kids nowadays, but I think for me it was definitely friendships, extended family, and TV. Big Power Rangers fan. So I'm still trying to get my hands on that Green Ranger dagger. So if any of you guys have one laying around or know somebody, let me know. But yeah, so culture. I think for me, it's pretty cool. My best friend has been my best friend since I was 1 year old. And I know a lot of people can't say that. And obviously our relationship had ebbed and flowed a little bit over time. And I'll talk more about him. He's really, really prominent in my story once I get into my junior high and high school years. But yeah, my best friend Kyle, super influential in my life. We've been brothers since the age of 1. But I think for me, the most influential, or one of my most influential times from a friendship perspective was like starting in 8th and 9th grade year. And that's when my mom forced me to go to a different school, to a school that she thought would be, better for me. It was like a charter school, smaller classes, all that stuff. But she didn't know that, and I didn't know that was going to lead me on a path that I don't think either of us would have predicted or foresaw. And it's just crazy what kids will do, or how much they will conform when they're put in a position of uncomfortability. Like, I was so uncomfortable going to this new school because I didn't know anybody. Like, it was a foreign land for me, and it was a new experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I never had been in a school where I didn't know anybody before. And I was a skateboarder too. So I was really into skateboarding. A lot of my skateboarding friends were in the church, but I went to this new school, and naturally I'm attracted to skateboarders, and the people I got hooked up with there just weren't great. And they did become like major influences in my life, because it led me to do things and maybe question things I never had before. And I think, and at that same time too, one of my cousins, my older cousins, was hanging around a lot, and he was a couple years older than me, and the more time I spent with him, the more I saw myself change. He had a computer and had a lot of access and free access to that, and that's where things like pornography came into play, where I was introduced, at a decently young age to that. And which, if any of you guys know, that's very influential in just how you view the opposite sex. Like, it's very, very unhealthy. And then you throw in like drinking and smoking, and then the occasional drug use. It just there was a lot of things going on in my life at that time that I think hit me really fast. Like, hit me faster than I could handle or really even process. And maybe some of your own students, some of your own kids are dealing with that stuff right now. It's like you get pushed into, you feel like you're pushed into a corner, and you're just trying to survive. And a lot of times survival is a lot of conforming and making sure that you do not stand out and you're different from anybody else in the room. So yeah, 8th and 9th grade year, super, super influential in my life. And I was still involved in the church. One thing I didn't mention before is that I've been in the church my entire life, as long as I can remember. And to do these things, like to be in the church and then to live this other lifestyle, you live a life of secrecy, and there's a lot of hiding and dishonesty, and you're doing whatever you can not to get caught or found out, or you don't want people in the church to know who you really are. And not to say that that's even who I really was, it's just what I was doing at that time to survive. And I know it seems funny to use the word survival, but that's what it feels like for a lot of teenagers. You know, you're just trying to get by. You know, you don't want to feel alone, and you want to have friends, and that's a really, really real struggle, and that struggle has not changed. It just looks a little bit different nowadays. But culture, our second major voice of influence in my life, and from our friends to what we watch, the internet to social media, all that stuff is having an effect on us. And by the grace of God, I was able to to navigate through that unscathed. Obviously, a lot of things in my past that I regret, but that I've learned from. And all this just leads me to my next point, my third major voice in my life, my third major voice of influence, and that is youth pastors, teachers, coaches, any person that second tier after parents. And for me, I had some great coaches growing up, but nobody has coached me through life better than our very own Jarvis and Jane Glanzer. A lot of you guys have heard this story, but no, I'll try to be brief. But yeah, I cannot talk about influence in any facet of my life without talking about these two. And I'm just gonna brag them up for a little bit. So they came in, so I just shared, you know, I was in my 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade years were a big struggle, just trying to find who I was, trying to survive. And then in the midst of that, Jarvis and Jane came the end of my sophomore year of high school. And I was just a kid visiting my best friend's youth group. I did not attend there very often. And Jarvis and Jane happened to be there that night. They had just got hired at this church, and I was there visiting, and we went out to eat afterwards, and they found their way over to our table and just introduced themselves, asked me what I was doing. And next thing I know, those two are at my baseball game a couple days later, and they take me out for pizza. And again, these people, they don't really know me. They don't know my struggle. They don't know where I come from. For some reason, God just led them and put them in my life. And after that night, they took me out for pizza. I mean, the rest is history. I was at their house multiple times a week. They were very, very intentional with their time with me, and it was very subtle. That's what I love about it. It's if you can figure out how to. I think the process of leading somebody in to the Lord or back to the Lord in some cases is very subtle. It's just kind of finding those perfect moments to ask a question or share a story or even present a challenge. A lot of those moments came just by playing video games on the couch. Or a lot of times it was just like late night conversations. Jarvis would pass out on the couch, and me and Jane would stay up and talk till 1 a.m. And it was just those moments and the time invested in me that I just really needed it. And not having a dad in my life, not having a sister, that was like, I mean, Jane she's like a sister to me, and Jarvis like an older brother. My life would not be the same. You know, I would hope that the Lord would lead me back to Him and out of the chaos that I was living some other way. But you could see God's hand in that whole situation, from start to finish to today, where I'm actually I'm on staff at a church working for them, getting to do life with them. So that is our third influential voice in our life. And guys, to my fourth and final influential voice, I would also say a most important voice, and that is God, Jesus Christ. To see God's hand in my life from start to finish in all the transitions and all the difficult times, in the people that he's placed in my life, you could just see that he's active. God is active in your life. He is active in the lives of the people that have given their life over to him. And the people that haven't, he is chasing after them, and which also makes him active in that area. So God is the culmination of all those other areas of my life, the people that he's placed in your life, your parents. God gave you those people. The culture that you grew up in, right? Your friends, your family. God knew those people would be in your life. And then to your pastors, Jarvis and Jane are not your pastors by some coincidence. God has placed those people in your life for a reason. The same way he's placed them in my life. And it's to your benefit. You can see God is active by who he places in our lives. And seriously, I would not be anywhere without him. The call that I have in my life to be a pastor, to preach and teach, and to spread the gospel to our teenagers in worship, in our life groups as you guys are spending time together. Some of you guys are watching that video right now. It's so cool to see God active in the avenues of our life, even when we don't want him to. Some of you guys have, and I'm one of those people that you've tried to keep God out of certain areas of your life, and he's going to do whatever he can to get his hands on those things, to take control over it, because it's all about surrender to him, right? It's about coming under the cross, that which Jesus did for you. So there it is, church, our 4 primary voice of influence in our life. Hope this leads to great discussion. Have a blessed day. We'll see you soon.